It's a little bit of a cloudy, a rare cloudy day here in Cuernavaca. I don't know if the lighting in my house is showing that it's maybe not quite as bright as normal. It's a rare cloudy day. There are only about 15 of these a year here where I live. So I thought today would be a good time to let my dim light shine. That was terrible. I've mentioned before, I think including last week, that I try to come up with clever or seducing introductions to these videos, but I never do it. That was awful. But anyway, yes, this is Soul Asylum, Let Your Dim Light Shine, episode number 27. And to prove that, here it is, Let Your Dim Light Shine. And there is dim light here in my house and in my city today. It's rare. Now this Soul Asylum, Let Your Dim Light Shine, or Soul Asylum in general, I would say is probably another one of the, maybe a surprise in this series. I've mentioned a couple of them. I think Prince maybe would be a surprise, although he shouldn't be, because I think everybody should like Prince. What else? REM was maybe a surprise. I'm going to do another one that'll be, I think, a really big surprise. But I think Soul Asylum, if you think of, I love Iron Maiden, I love Metallica, Slayer, Motorhead, Kiss, Black Sabbath, AC/DC. These are my real favorites. So maybe Soul Asylum doesn't fit. And I should say I don't love Soul Asylum. This is similar to last week I did Tesla, and I've done some other ones where I don't love the band, but I do love some individual albums. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I do like Soul Asylum. I bought the first Soul Asylum album I got was the one before this, which was Grave Dancers Union, which is a pretty big success, I guess, at least more than moderate, I would say. And I liked it well enough, at least well enough to buy this second one. And I bought Candy from a Stranger, came out after that, and I think The Silver Lining was next. I bought that one too. And they've done two since then, which I've listened to but didn't buy. I don't really buy CDs too much anymore. But I'm only probably 3 minutes into the video and I'm getting off track. So Soul Asylum, my history with Soul Asylum is pretty much nothing. I just talk about there. I've never seen Soul Asylum live. I've never had a Soul Asylum t-shirt. I think I can name the members of Soul Asylum. Dave Pirner, of course, is the singer-guitarist. Carl Mueller is, I'm not even sure if he is the bassist or guitarist. And who's the other guy? A guy called Sterling Campbell, I know, played drums on this album. And somebody else in Soul Asylum. So like I said, I'm not a huge Soul Asylum fan. They're not really in my musical wheelhouse. This album came out in 1995, and it came out at a time when this, I guess you could call it alternative rock, alt rock, 90s alt rock, grunge, post-grunge, I'm not sure. I hated all that crap. This was a time, although when metal was really changing and people were really deserting metal, and for me, I still like the old bands. I still love Metallica and bands like that at the time, but there weren't too many new metal bands, I think, at the time. And I think a lot of this music, Soul Asylum, Bush, maybe Oasis, no, maybe not Oasis, I don't know. Who else? Catherine Wheel, Better Than Ezra, Seven Mary Three, all that crap, except Soul Asylum, was just, it was like extremely watered down metal. It was like these bands, they had guitar, and they were rock bands, but they were definitely not metal. And they I didn't like that period of music at all. I tried to get into it. I bought albums by some of those bands, and not too many of them, but maybe some other ones that I forgot. But the one shining light, unlike this album, Let Your Dim Light, I loved Soul Asylum, at least this album, as I said. So that's my history with Soul Asylum, and I'm going to talk about the album now. I'll start with talking about Dave Pirner. Dave Pirner writes amazing lyrics. One of my favorite songwriters in terms of lyrics. And he, when I think about his lyrics, they remind me of a along the same lines of Gord Downey, Tragically Hip, Dickie Barrett from Mighty Mighty Bosstones, and Steve Perry. Not Steve Perry from Journey, but Steve Perry from Cherry Poppin' Daddies, who I love Cherry Poppin' Daddies. I talked about their whole discography last year. And just that all those guys, including Dave Pirner, their lyrics are they really tell stories in their lyrics. Their lyrics have characters. They kind of, not every song maybe, but a lot of them follow almost like a, they're written in a linear fashion telling a story, especially one that I'm going to talk about on this album, Let Your Dim Light Shine. So Dave Pirner was, or is, I guess, an amazing songwriter, lyrically especially, but also musically. I thought this album, and maybe Soul Asylum in general, should have been much bigger than they were. They wrote, Dave Pirner, I guess, or Soul Asylum, wrote very, very catchy songs, really catchy. I don't know why more people didn't love Soul Asylum. They should have been huge, very, very catchy, melodic, but still had a little bit of punch. I mean, they were rock. They weren't, soft rock. They weren't like Air Supply or even like Bon Jovi. They were a little bit more rock than that. But I thought Soul Asylum should have been much, much bigger. So I'm gonna get to the album now. The first song is Misery. They say misery loves company. We can start a company and make misery. Frustrated Incorporated. That's a classic Soul Asylum song. I think that's a good example of Dave Pirner's lyrics. I think his lyrics, I think, are very clever. He kind of plays with them a little bit. There's another one, I'm not sure. There was sweat beating on my brow. My heart was beating out of my chest. I'll get to that song later. But they say misery loves company. We can start a company and make misery. A little bit of a kind of a play on words, a little bit that he does in that song, and I think in some other songs too. I love that song, and that's first song, and it's already one of my favorites. Next one is Shut Down, Shut Down, Shut Down. I like that one too. To My Own Devices. Shouldn't Have Got So Loaded, Damn Near Exploded. That has a little bit, and there's at least one other one on this song that to me have a little, very, very slight, I hate to say it, country feel. Now, if somebody had, told me that oh, you should listen to this album or this song, there are a couple of songs that have a country feel, I would have ran away as fast as I could from that person and probably never talked to them ever again, or at least would never trust their taste in music. But it does. Damn Near, no, is that the one? Yeah, Shouldn't Have Got So Loaded, Damn Near Exploded. Oh Lord, she was a pretty good waitress, said she waited on Elvis, said she talked too much. I would say that's my favorite. That's we're only on the third song, but I've already said two favorites. Next is Hopes Up. Don't get your hopes, don't get my hopes up. Don't get my hopes up, don't get my hopes up now. Good one too. Promises Broken. That's another one I would say maybe has a little bit of a country feel. Or maybe I'm confusing Promises Broken and To My Own Devices. They're both quiet, nice songs. They're not, for sure not ballads, but they're not rockers. They're just really, really nice songs, both those, To My Own Devices and Promises Broken. Promises Broken is looking outside from a windowsill, throw another coin in the wishing well, never find what you're looking for, 15 miles, your dim light shines. That's where they got the name, I guess, or took the name for this album. Your dim light shines from so far away. That's a favorite too. That the lyrics again, the Dave Pirner's lyrics on this one. What's the first line from that one? I'm trying to get this correct. Very hard to read these lyrics. They're very small. Promises broken. Doo-doo-doo-doo. From a hotel satellite. Don't like you're living right. I'll make you want to stay with me. Befriended by the enemy. That's I'd say that's my favorite so far. Next, I'm all over the place. Next is Bittersweet Heart. Bittersweet. That's a good one too. String of Pearls. I feel like I almost chose to talk about this album just for the pure fact that I could talk about String of Pearls. And the lyrics, let's see, what's the first lyric. She swings a string of pearls on the corner. The street light reflects the light in the water. The string it snapped and the pearls go sailing. And they splash and bounce and roll across the wet street. As she bends to chase the pearls, a car swings around the corner. She darts from the eyes of the panic-struck driver who's racing to the delivery room because in the backseat his wife is busting out of her womb. And the sack breaks and out come the Siamese twins who grow up to become the first president with two heads are better than one. He puts his heads in his hands, says, I got to put my heads together. I can become the best president ever, and not just president, fend for yourself. Signs his name, takes the blame for all the good pain with no shame. They never leave. He never leaves. They adjourn, and they never leave. And in walks a man with a broom and a knife. I screwed something up there. A broom and a knife and blood on his hand. And he sweeps everything under the rug. Then goes home to his kids and gives them a hug. But his wife was not there. She had just left a letter that said you'd be much better off without me. Now his wife took the train to her ex-lover's funeral. He died in the bathroom, hit his head on a urinal. When they got together, the knowledge was carnal. And the widow was at the funeral, and they had quite a cat fight. And the casket fell and the casket just fell. And the casket was resting. The casket fell into a hole. It was resting, and the preacher just left. I screwed something up there too. The preacher just left in the middle of the service because death was one thing, but women made him nervous. And he ran to his car and he drove around the corner. Brackets, that's the car from the beginning of the song. Then something in the street caught the light in his eye. He pulled over, reached down and picked up a pearl from the gutter. And he didn't know what to think, so he brought it home and washed it in the sink. And he gave the pearl to Sister Mary Teresa, who could not accept it, so she gave it to Lisa, a young prostitute who was missing the pearl from her necklace that broke late last night. Best lyrics ever. I don't know about that, but man, that you feel like that's a movie. That should have been the biggest song of the 90s, String of Pearls. And for me, the music is just as good as the lyrics. That's it's got characters. It's got Lisa, the young prostitute. It's got her husband, the ex-lover, the priest, Sister Mary Teresa. It's got everybody. This is by far, it's not just my favorite song on this album, it's my favorite Soul Asylum song ever. It's, for me, I feel like it's very, very hard to pick single favorite songs out of the, thousands and thousands and thousands of songs you hear in your lifetime. But String of Pearls, oh man, that's up there for me with some of the best. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Iron Maiden, and Indians by Anthrax, and Angel of Death by Slayer, and any number of Kiss or Motorhead or Metallica songs. String of Pearls is right up there. I feel like I should dedicate just an episode to how great String of Pearls is. Amazing, amazing. Can't say enough about String of Pearls. Everything from here on is it's not a letdown, but man, that's the centerpiece of the album. Crawl. I'm gonna crawl home. Good song. Don't know what else to say, but I like that one too. Caged Rat. Very strange song. A little bit of a quirky song. It has it has piano in the verses, and then the chorus is very punk rock, very aggressive. Dave Pirner's just yelling, "Caged rat, caged rat, caged rat," and then he goes back to the quiet, quirky piano verses. Eyes of a Child. She had 13 kids. Each one's got 13 problems. Another lyrically great song. That one is Eyes of a Child. That's similar lyrics to I don't know, maybe not String of Pearls, maybe a couple of other ones. They're kind of like kind of bittersweet songs. They seem about people that are going through a hard time in their life, but they somehow sound they're kind of positive too. She had 13 kids. Each one had 13 problems. 3 uppers, 10 downers, just to put up with this. I'm not going to go through the whole lyrics of that one again, but lyrically and musically too, that's also one of my favorites. I've got several favorites so far already. Just Like Anyone, another one. That's similar lyrics about a girl She wondered if she was, and she always wondered if it was because she was too fat. How does that one start? She walks into the outhouse. The cold air. I need to get a grip on the lyrics. Once I get that grip, I can tighten the screw. And again, very hard. Pretty good packaging. I've talked about albums that have no lyrics or poor packaging. This one has lyrics. They're kind of hard to read, but kind of unique packaging. She walks into the outhouse. The cold night breathes into her face. The flies are standing still now. The moon spills through her place. And she starts wondering what it's like to be liked by everyone and like everyone, to be just like anyone. And then in the second, I guess that's the chorus, and she starts wondering what they mean. Do they just mean to be mean? She starts wondering what they mean. Do they just mean to be mean? Thinking about the scene. Do they just want to be seen? They kind of make you, I don't know, feel sorry for the character. But then, again, like I said, they have a positive spin. What was the one about? She always thought it was because she was too. No, that's that's Tell Me When. That's the next song. All right, well, I'll do Tell Me When. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Tell me when does life begin? Another lyrically along the same lines. Love all these songs. Nothing to write home about. Dear John, that ain't my name. But I guess, Dear John, that ain't my name. But I guess I'm better off just the same. And I miss the comforts of home. Still nobody understands. Something, nothing to write home about. Still I have the same old doubt, nothing to write home about. Dear John, that ain't my name. It's Dear Mother, Dear Mother. First, why am I so obsessed with lyrics? Dear Mother, Dear Mother. What can I say? It's been so long since I ran away. And then the second verse is, Dear John, that ain't my name. And then the last song, I Did My Best. This could also be a favorite. Another beautiful, I would say this fits in the category with To My Own Devices and Promises Broken. A slight, very slight country tinge to that one. What's this one? Hold up in the dressing room without a dress. Kneeling at the confessional with nothing to confess. And I knew all about my surprise party. I was spoiled and depressed. But I acted surprised and I told lots of lies. I did my best. Hold up at the... Stop the truck at the truck stop. I needed something to help me crash. Food stamps, checks, and credit cards, but they only accepted cash. This is what I was going to say earlier. I like how he does this. He said there was sweat beading with a D on my brow. My heart was beating out of my chest, beating with a T. Isn't that interesting that I'm giving you a spelling lesson? I like that. I like that he does that kind of a little play on words there. There was sweat beating on my brow. My heart was beating out of my chest. That's it. That's the last song. Fortunately, I feel like I have so much energy. I'm getting very excited talking about this album. This is similar to I talked some time ago about Mind Funk and Cherry Poppin' Daddy's discography, who I mentioned earlier. Both of those, Cherry Poppin' Daddies is a band, and Mind Funk, especially the album Dropped, which I talked about a few episodes ago, and Soul Asylum. I never had any friends who were into any of those bands or albums, so I think a lot more excited about talking about these albums or these bands because I've never really talked about them with anybody before. I've listened to those albums and those bands tons and tons, but it's very different. Everybody, all my friends love Metallica and Iron Maiden and Kiss, so I always talk about those bands, but Soul Asylum and Mind Funk and Cherry Poppin' Daddies, I'm on my own with those ones. So I don't know how to wrap this up. What can I do? Light, let me see. I already did the light, it's cloudy. I don't know what else to say, but I'm just going to tell you that I love this album.